Hi folks, David Fine from Watch Your Lip. I'm here with John Slepian, my brother, friend.
Good afternoon.
Mechanic, my friend. Guys, today we are in the process of doing the 100-hour service on my Yamaha 4-stroke 25 horsepower tiller motor, small outboard. And I was kind of like taken back by a $500 price for doing all this work. And in the middle of all of that, we are going to replace this. This is an impeller. And as you can see, the blades on this impeller, which is a part of the water pump, are bent. And this can cause all kinds of problems. You got to replace these every couple of years. Is that right, John?
That's right.
So every couple of years, the engine's about 2 years old.
Actually, every year is probably a better rule of thumb with a little one.
A little impeller every year. Okay, so there you go. Guys, we are going to replace our impeller, part of our water pump. John's going to show me how it's done. I don't know what I'm doing, but John does, so he's going to walk me through. John, thank you so much, buddy.
My pleasure.
Okay.
My pleasure.
All right, guys, let's get to changing out our impeller. Watch your lip. All right, so impeller time.
Yes, sir.
First step is what do we got here, John?
Okay, so this is our shift shaft.
Okay.
And on your transmission,
Yep.
so that little lever we have here,
yep.
if you get a picture of the shaft itself when you move this
down
forward,
here.
yep. So we push it forward.
Uh-huh.
You see, so that would be forward.
So when you put the gear in forward, that's pulls it up.
Right, so that's what's going on.
Yep.
Right now we have it in reverse,
yep,
so that we can access that nut. And the bottom nut, so we just broke it loose.
Neutral.
Yeah, well, this right here,
yep,
that's a lock nut there. And yes, we did have it neutral. So what we're doing now is we have it in reverse so we can access this bolt here, okay, actually this big nut. And what we do is break that loose and we leave it right there because that's where we're going to bring that big nut back when we put it back together, but we're going to keep it like that for now, okay, so we can disconnect.
All right. The process begins of dropping off this lower unit. All right, so now this nut just unscrewed and that just comes right off. So that's the first step. Okay. Now we got what, like 2 bolts on each side?
Yep, and then we have one in, actually this one we just have the 2 bolts on each side, yep.
2 bolts on each side.
Indeed.
All right, getting it done. There we go.
Everything happens for a reason. We're gonna find out what the reason is.
We'll figure out what the reason is one day.
Yeah.
But, all right, so these 4 bolts here just hold the entire lower unit on.
Yeah. And so the lower unit is the transmission and the water pump.
So I don't need to hold it. That other bolt's holding it on.
Right.
Got it.
Right. But you got the right idea.
Yeah. You gotta just be careful because if that guy is loose at all, once he pulls this one off, this whole thing could just slide right down. So I'm just gonna put a little pressure here. Okay. Just in case.
Rather be safe than sorry.
Safer than sorry, yeah. Yep. Oh, you might be having a good day. All right, John, what do we got going here? We got bolts off.
Yeah, our bolts are off. So our lower unit is gonna come off now.
Yep.
And we have the vertical shaft that engages with the crankshaft. And then we've already disconnected the shifting shaft.
Okay. And that just slides down. There it goes.
And there we go.
Ain't he pretty? Well, kind of.
And our water pump is in there.
How are we looking? These gears looking okay?
Yeah, so far so good.
So far so good?
Yeah.
So, all right.
Let's put it on.
All right, so John, what is this right here?
Okay, so we're looking at the lower unit apart, and then inside here, this is our vertical shaft.
Yep.
And then attached to the vertical shaft is the impeller. So the impeller slides down the shaft and it goes inside that housing.
So this is the housing right here.
Yep.
So we're gonna actually replace the entire housing?
If we have a new housing in that kit.
We do have a new housing.
Then
let me see what we got. So here's our kit.
All right.
So we've got, oh, look at you.
Will it fit in there?
Yeah. All we really need to do is just have it standing up somewhat. So.
Like it would have helped it stand up. I dumped it
out.
Yeah, I dumped it out.
Dump that out.
I thought you meant like metal part of
Okay, that kind of works. All right.
No, we just got to make sure it doesn't get
So
left over.
we got our impeller, which will come in handy soon. We'll put that. Actually, we probably shouldn't. But we got. I believe I got a new housing. I got. Is that what this is?
Yep.
New housing.
Bingo.
I think
So
we
the
got.
impeller's inside there?
Yep.
Gotcha.
I'm hoping that when we open this thing up, the impeller that's in there is all ripped up and smoked up because that's why my horsepower is messed up.
Yep. Okay, so.
All right, so now we're just taking the housing off, correct?
Yeah.
I'll hold this for you a little bit.
Okay.
You actually got to do a sequence.
Okay.
So we're gonna pull it. We're gonna pull the housing,
Yep.
and
So just those screws came out, and then we're just pulling it.
yeah, and we're gonna reveal our impeller.
Oh, here's the reveal,
Dun,
guys.
dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun, dun. Is the impeller a hot mess?
Ooh, it's a hot mess.
Is it?
Yep.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
It's not as bad as it could be, but it's real close.
Okay.
Because the only way it could be worse than this is if these veins, these blades were busted off. But you see how they're bent?
Yep.
Now, if you open
Yep.
up the new
We
one,
get our new one.
and take a look at that.
Okay.
That's what it's supposed to look like.
Oh, wow.
It's because those veins being straight out like that,
Yep.
when we put it together, we're going to have to force them to bend. And then they're trying to straighten out, so
Yep.
they stay stout in there.
Oops.
And they draw, it causes, the blades being straight causes, once they're bent in there, causes it more friction as it
Right.
turns. So it draws, sucks harder, and it pushes harder. So
Okay.
it sucks the water up, and then it pushes.
Yeah, John, why don't we do this? Why don't you explain what does an impeller do?
Okay.
Talk to us what an impeller does.
Okay, an impeller is for all intents and purposes, it's your water pump. Like you have a water pump in your car,
Right?
and any internal combustion engine has a water pump.
Okay.
Some have two pumps,
Yep.
circulating pump and a drawing pump, a pump that they call a lift pump that draws the water to it. This one, it's 2-in-1. What it does is it draws the water into
By spinning.
it.
So when this thing is spinning,
Yes. That's
the motor spins the shaft.
That's right. And this is connected to the crankshaft of the power head.
That's connected to the crankshaft of the power head up there. All right. So then,
So it's
so this
spinning.
thing is spinning,
Yep.
and then as this spins, this impeller is attached to it, and it spins.
That's right. It has a keyway in it, and when we pull it up, you'll see the keyway and what it does, so that it can't spin freely on there. It just has to. If this spins a little, that spins a little.
Yep. And so these little flaps
Yeah.
push water. Is that correct?
That's right. And so what happens is, since it's covered, this cover goes over the top,
Yep.
and there's a notch in the bottom of this plate.
Okay.
It sucks water through these little holes
Through the
down
intake,
here.
and this is under the water. So your propeller's back here,
That's right.
and as this is spinning, it's pushing water up through these vents, and it brings it up through here,
That's right.
and then it pushes it through what? Through the motor?
Then it pushes it through this tube right here.
Okay.
So it sucks it into the housing.
Yep.
And then it forces it up this tube.
Okay.
And this opening, this connects up in here. If you look there, there's a tube right here.
Yep.
And so what happens is this fitting goes over that tube right there.
Yep.
And then the water that gets sucked into the pump housing
Yep.
gets forced up that tube, and it pushes it all the way up to the power head, and then it circulates around the block and the head, the engine,
Okay.
and it cools the block and the head down,
Okay.
because as the pistons are moving inside the block,
Yep.
the faster they go, the faster the engine winds.
It's creating heat.
That's exactly right.
So it's creating heat. You got metal on metal moving. You got combusting fuel, all producing heat.
Exactly.
So that water, that's fresh water that's being sucked up by the impeller, by the water pump, is cooling off the engine so it doesn't overheat and you don't get engine failure or motor failure, correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Or in our case, you don't get an engine that's running a little too hot, but not enough to damage the engine yet,
Yep.
but too hot for this fuel filter and this carburetor
Okay.
that have cool fuel running through them.
Yep.
The temperature of the block gets too hot, and then the fuel, it basically vaporizes. It starts to disintegrate, and it starts to turn into vapor, and then as it's drawn into the motor and
So the spark plugs aren't catching the vapor. They need the liquid fuel.
Right. Well, actually, it comes in an atomization, so it's kind of like a vapor, but it's actually like a spray can.
Got it.
Wet molecules.
Okay. Wet molecules.
Yes.
This is pretty complex here.
Yes.
Okay. And then, so now after it cools everything down or runs through,
Yep.
it comes back down and then starts peeing, right?
Yep. So it goes through the block,
Yep.
and then it comes out of this little pisser.
Yep. There's the pisser.
Yeah, and then that indicates that your water pump is actually drawing water up
Yep.
and pumping it through the block. There's nothing holding it up. It's cooling the block down, and then it comes out of the indicator or the
Yep.
pisser, so it indicates it's making it through the system.
Right.
Now, the only thing we don't know about that water is its temperature.
Right.
So we put our hand in it just for a quick field check.
Yeah.
If we can run our hand under it, then it's working. But if it burns our hand, we know that it's not working efficiently, and therefore it's running the motor too hot.
Got it.
And if it runs too hot, it can alter the effect of the fuel in the combustion chamber and cause the engine to lose power, which is what we're having here.
Got it. All right. So now in this case, the impeller, kind of the blades of the prop or the prop of the impeller are supposed to be straight like that. But in the case of my 2.5-year-old impeller, they're worn.
Yes.
So it's not going to be as efficient pumping the water up because these things are supposed to be out straight. Is that correct?
That's right. And and so when they're inside the housing, they get bent by being in the housing.
Yep.
But when they start to stay bent, that's when it's worn out. That means that when this housing is over the top of it, those veins that are supposed to be pushing hard up against the side here like that,
Yep.
are just kind of not doing anything.
So water's escaping inside.
That's right.
And it's just not getting the pressure.
That's right. And the faster the shaft goes, the more water escapes because it's not holding it, it's not pushing it, it doesn't have a firm suction or vacuum built up in there. And same for the output side, it doesn't have a good pressure.
Great.
And therefore you got water just kind of splashing around in here and making its way through the system, but barely.
Barely. Okay. Well, I'm excited to get this bad boy redone. All right, we're gonna pop this thing off now. Is that how this works?
Yeah, we're gonna have a look at our impeller. But before we do that, I'm gonna run out to the truck and get some lubricant so that when we put our new one on, it goes easily.
All right. Get it. All right. What are we doing here? Just getting a little lubrication to get it off.
That's right. So we can pull it off.
So it's a nice, easy.
That's right. And then we're gonna have to put another one over it. So we might as well lube it up and make everything happen as cooperatively as possible.
That's all right.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. So you see all that play in there?
Yeah. It's not supposed to do that.
So
okay.
yeah, it's like loose on the shaft, but it's not so loose that it's free. It's free. And yeah, that's
Try to hold it a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, here it goes.
Well, it looks like our lubricant is helping.
It's tight.
Oh yeah.
There it goes.
And so here's our keyway right there.
Oh, there is a key right there. Okay. All right.
All
right,
impeller.
there it is. All right, do me a favor. Pop that right down in my hand, right next to that one.
All right.
Let's get a, I'm gonna get a little comparison here, guys. This is the one on the left, not so good. The one on the right is the way it's supposed to look, guys. Hopefully that solves the problem. All right, so what are we doing here, John?
This is our water tube. This is the
Yep.
tube that connects to the top of the water pump housing.
Yep.
This housing.
Okay.
And that little rubber grommet fits right on that tube.
Okay. So you're
And
just cleaning that up and make sure it's...
That's right, so that when it gets pushed back into that seal, the water pressure doesn't leak out around it or...
Oh, okay.
It's-
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's clean and squeezing tight on the tube.
Okay.
And
So that's nice. Looks nice and clean now.
yeah,
And now it's time to bust open our little box here and start looking what we got inside of here, isn't it?
indeed it is. Now usually what'll happen when you went to buy the impeller,
Yep.
they say you want the impeller or you want the whole water pump
Yeah.
housing, the whole thing.
Yep.
So in this case, we got the whole thing because it was a few dollars more.
Right.
However, the reason they offer you just an impeller is because of the condition of our impeller, and all the rest of this stuff, as you can see, is good.
It looks good.
Yes.
So are we going to keep the rest? So we just keep the
Yeah.
old stuff on the housing,
Yes, we're gonna keep everything.
and we'll keep all that in the package in case we need it at a future date.
That's right.
Okay.
And then we're gonna just put our impeller in,
I have the impeller here.
okay? And we're gonna make sure that our seals are good.
Seals look good.
On the shaft again.
Okay. So I'm going to re-lube the shaft.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that it's nice and slimy.
Nice and slimy, yep.
Okay. And this all looks good down here. Looks like it's in decent shape.
Yep, the
Okay.
plate's good. There's no major gouges in it.
Okay.
Nothing came loose. Yeah, so that there was a lot of stuff. It was a tight fit.
How do we know which side is the top?
So the notch starts on the bottom,
Oh,
but
notch
it
starts on
doesn't.
the bottom.
It's not on the top.
Got it.
So we know that
So that side goes on first.
that's correct.
Okay.
So we're gonna put our impeller. We're
Yep.
gonna get it relatively close so we know that our keyway is down here.
Okay.
We're gonna go on just like that.
Slide it down.
And then we're gonna
Slide it over the notch.
we're gonna look for our keyway. Let me just this guy.
So this right here is the hole where the water comes in, right?
That's right.
Got it.
That's where it draws the water in. So our keyway is there, just above the vane.
Yep.
Now we're gonna just wiggle it till it catches it. So it just caught the vane, it caught the
And it
keyway.
slides down.
Yep. And then we just make sure that it can't turn free of the shaft, and it can't.
Great.
And there we go.
And our impeller, our new impeller is on. That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling.
It is.
Okay.
Now we're gonna make sure that our base is clean. There's nothing in it. There's no gouges. Everything is.
That looks so. That
pure
looks good.
Flush. Yep.
The old housing looks good.
Indeed.
Okay.
And this is some waterproof lubricant. So
Okay.
the reason we're doing that is because when we first start the boat up, first of all, we have to bend these to get them in place.
Is that right?
Yep. So the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna put our housing on like that,
Okay.
and we know that that's how, by the shape of it, that's how our housing is supposed to wind up.
Because it lines up with the holes.
Right. And
Got
then and see how it's round there?
Yep.
And it's round here.
Yep.
And it's flat in the back, and it's flat in the back here.
Okay.
And then there's got, see that little notch, those little notches?
Yep.
So there's two little notches in the back for those to fit in.
Okay.
And then we're gonna go down like that. Now, how are we gonna get those vanes to bend, right? We're gonna do it like this. So we're twisting this as we're doing it.
Yep.
And we just turned all those vanes.
Yep, until it gets into the right position.
Yep. And now they're in there, and we put it on. We can feel it go into place, and voila.
Voila.
Since they have a little crud on them, and what I mean by crud is Loctite.
Loctite?
Yeah, Loctite is what you see in the threads.
Yep.
And so that Loctite will help them from vibrating loose.
Okay. So that's actually a good thing to have a little bit of
friction.
A little bit of friction.
Yeah. Now, if we were turning these bolts and they were fighting back,
that'd be a different story.
Yeah, then we'd use the new ones.
Got it.
And we put Loctite on them.
So that white stuff on there, that's not corrosion. That's Loctite.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
It's actually a form of Loctite because it looks like pipe dope, they call it.
Yep.
Because Loctite is actually blue.
Got it. Okay. Well, we're looking like we're getting closer and closer here.
Yeah, that's a good thing to see that the impeller was so worn like that.
Yeah.
That's a good...
That gives you a little...
yeah, it makes our theory more sound with regard to how the engine was running.
Good.
And even like when we take it out from your house,
yep.
That little ride from your house to the C14 canal,
yep,
is long enough to get the engine hot enough for it to be at least at operating temperature.
Got it.
And should get hot right away and not run correctly if this is the problem. If
that's the problem. Yeah. Got it. Well, it looks like it was potentially the problem.
Yep. There's a good chance that between the two, we're gonna...
Between that and the carburetor?
Yeah, we're gonna find our
issue.
Our issue. And they get 10 foot-pounds.
Yep.
And
so we're bottoming out the screws.
Yeah.
And then once you get them down, what do you give them, a quarter turn or something?
Yeah. Well, then we're just gonna give them. So they're 10. The torque on them is 10 inch-pounds.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, 10 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. And so this guy's still up a little.
What are we looking at? Housing still up?
Yeah, I'm watching the lock washer in there to see when it collapses, when it,
got it,
gets flat, like there.
Yep.
So now I know that guy's all the way flat.
He's flat. Good.
He's
good.
Flat. I'm just looking to make sure that everything is intact.
Okay.
There are no cracks. There are no leaks.
Okay, so
we're gonna put a light on it and study it real good.
All right, so before putting this thing back on, we're just taking a look and seeing if there's any kind of lack of integrity in the housing on this thing. But from what you can see, it looks good, right?
Yeah, everything looks fine. So what we're looking for, like right here, is a crack running down the leg, a crack running down the leg or across the top.
Right.
Since we're dealing with plastic.
Yep. Metal and plastic together.
Everything looks good.
Looks good?
Yep.
All right.
So what I do is I like hold it right there.
Yep.
Just like that. And so the strength of my hand right there is enough.
Yep.
Once I can't do it, then they'll all be equal.
Got it.
So I turn that guy, keeping my hand in the same place, like that. And we're doing them in a crisscross. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Got it.
And he's good. And spin him around. Okay.
Okay.
So the reason I spun him around is so that I could keep my hand in the same
Yep.
You know, I
Same
put
amount
the
of
same
torque.
amount of torque, right? Exactly.
Got it. All right, so now the water tube seal.
Yep. So he's got grease in there. That's what that stuff is. So that's okay.
Okay.
And
How does that look to you?
it looks fine.
Good.
I'm just gonna put a little lubricant on that. And
Okay.
B, I'm gonna put a drop on this guy so that he meshes with the
Okay.
crankshaft correctly. And what's gonna happen here, David, is as I'm pushing that guy back on,
Yep.
I might have to push this tube. You see that how it moves? I might have to push it.
Oh yeah.
I might have to like push it. It
So
may
that
not line perfectly up.
So it fits inside of that hole.
That's exactly right.
Got it.
So I'm gonna leave this flashlight on. I'm gonna leave it right here
Okay.
because I might need you to grab it and just so we can have a look.
Okay.
But
All right. Do you need a hand with this, or
no, it's relatively light. This guy, I can't believe it.
that's probably the lightest lower unit you've ever picked up? Is that correct?
Yes. It is. Usually I've have a lot of blood gushing by now. So we're gonna now we're trying to mesh with the okay, so it went pretty easy. So right now we're trying to mesh the crankshaft with the vertical shaft, and
Okay.
that's got splines on it. So you see how we're
You
kinda
gotta shimmy
stuck?
it a little bit.
So we're gonna turn that shaft, and we just moved it. So by moving the propeller, we just made the shaft spin,
Yep.
and it engaged with the bottom of the crankshaft, and it slid right in,
Got it.
like that.
Okay.
And then we're
Now
gonna-
I'll hold this
Thank you, sir.
while you get your bolts going.
All right. Got it?
Yep. All right, guys, so we're putting our bolts back on. I squirted a little bit with some lubricant before we putting them back on, just so we're keeping these guys as long as possible. Right, John?
That's right.
We gotta love our bolts and screws by making sure they stay lubricated.
That's right. They don't rust and corrode and break and
Yep.
don't cooperate when you try to take them apart.
Yeah.
From it.
So we didn't need to take this off.
No, we didn't have to
We
take
just
that
it's
off.
just these 4 bolts.
That's correct.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So the lower unit is held on by 4 little bolts.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
So if somebody wanted to disappear with your lower unit,
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. you're
that's
right.
you just need to undo 4 bolts.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. That light.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna go down there, and we're just about all the way on. We can see our nut there.
Yep.
So now that we know we're close, we're gonna bring him up a little bit.
So you're putting it in forward.
Yeah. Right now we're in neutral.
You're in neutral.
Yeah, just so we can get our tools on that
Got
nut
it.
right there,
Got it.
and we're just gonna spin him without moving the bottom one because we use the bottom one as our marker. And then we're going to use the bottom one just to snug the top one. And right there should be right about where we came apart. Now we're going to snug them up. And then we're going to test them. Make sure that we're engaging in gear.
Got to engage properly.
Yes, sir.
People have a hard time with that these days.
Yeah.
Engaging properly.
So what we're going to do is we're going to hold our bottom one with this guy. Actually, we'll hold our top one with this guy.
Okay.
And we'll tighten up with our 10mm open end. And we're just going to put a little bit of torque on it so that they're locked together. And now we're going to go forward, neutral, reverse. We should be in neutral now. And
Looks like you're in neutral.
okay, so then we'll go forward,
Forward,
neutral,
neutral,
reverse.
reverse. That sounded smooth.
Yeah. And so we're gonna check it. So we should be locked up with the propeller here because we're in reverse, and we are.
Okay.
And then we go to neutral, and
Spins.
yeah, and
She
then,
spins.
and then we go forward.
And it locks
and
back
lock
up.
it again, yeah.
Good.
And
Excellent.
There we go.
And we're done.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic.
Amen.
Amen. All right, John, so we got our impeller out. We got our new one on. Our lower unit is put back on, and we are ready to go. What do you think? Do you think that was a success?
Yeah, it was a success. And we have a worn out impeller. That is the looks of a very worn out impeller. Yep.
All right. Well, this guy, I'm just going to put it in a little frame because I was losing horsepower because of this bad boy. And I'll just keep it for a keepsake. But once a year, we'll change out our impeller. John, thank you so much for helping out.
My pleasure.
And guys, check out the rest of our videos because we're going to continue to show you some basic stuff. Now, if your engine is under warranty, don't go messing with it unless you want to avoid your warranty. If you trust yourself, I'm not a mechanic, so I'm not, you know, this is just like I'm learning. You learn with me. John's showing me a few things, and but I like doing an $85 for parts complete kit for doing our 100-hour service instead of a $500 service fee.
Amen.
I like that.
Makes sense to me.
But you're a mechanic, so it kind of doesn't make sense to you.
Well, when you have friends, you gotta, you know.
All right, guys, hope you learned something. I learned a lot. Don't forget to like the video. That helps us out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Can't wait to run this bad boy with our new impeller. Let's go.
Watch your lip.
Watch your lip. Take care.